For centuries, a powerful myth dominated the imagination of the world, that the pyramids were built by legions of oppressed slaves, laboring under the lash of cruel masters. Hollywood perpetuated it. Some biblical interpretations reinforced it. But modern archaeology tells a very different story, one far more human and perhaps even more extraordinary. Today, we know that the pyramids were not built by slaves, but by a workforce of skilled laborers, artisans, and volunteers, brought together in one of the largest and most efficient construction projects the world has ever seen. The myth of slavery. Shattered by science. The idea of slave labor, particularly Jewish slaves, constructing the pyramids was widely believed for centuries. However, no archaeological evidence supports this theory. The Pyramid Age, specifically the Old Kingdom, around 2600 to 2400 BCE, predates the traditional biblical timeline of the Exodus by nearly 1,000 years. More importantly, excavations around the Giza Plateau have unearthed compelling evidence that completely contradicts the slavery narrative. In the 1990s, a team led by Dr. Zahi Hawass and Dr. Mark Leiner discovered tombs of pyramid workers near the base of the monuments. These were not hastily dug pits or mass graves. They were carefully constructed burial chambers, complete with pottery, bread, beer jars, and even beef bones, offerings for the afterlife. This kind of care was not given to slaves. These were honored citizens, people who had played a vital role in a sacred national project. If they were slaves, Dr. Hawass remarked, they would never have been buried in the shadow of the king's pyramid. The Workers' City, a lost civilization. Recovered further excavation revealed the footprint of a sprawling workers' city located to the southeast of the pyramid complex. This city contained dormitories for thousands of workers, bakeries producing massive quantities of bread, ovens, granaries and brewhouses, storage rooms for meat, fish, and dried goods, administrative buildings, evidence of centralized planning. Mark Leiner's team calculated that this settlement may have housed between 10,000 to 20,000 people at any given time. This would have made it one of the largest urban centers in the world at that time. It was not a slave camp. It was a logistical masterpiece. Diet of the pyramid builders, better than you think. What the workers ate also paints a vivid picture. Analysis of bones and cooking pits found in the workers' city shows that the laborers were well fed, especially by ancient standards. Workers received daily rations of bread, onions, garlic, and most importantly, meat. Cattle bones were found in abundance, suggesting beef was regularly served. Fish, poultry, and even beer were part of the regular diet. This level of nutrition is not consistent with forced laborers. It indicates a valued workforce, one that was not only paid in the form of food, clothing, and lodging, but also respected. Interestingly, higher-ranking supervisors and artisans were found to consume significantly more meat, especially goat and cattle. This reveals an early version of middle management, with privileges based on rank and skill. Who were these workers? So who were the people who moved millions of stones by hand? Most were likely farmers from across Egypt. During the annual Nile flood, their fields would be underwater for months, rendering them temporarily unemployed. The state recruited them to work on national projects during this downtime. This system created a kind of national draft, not for war, but for construction. Villagers would come in shifts, working for several months before returning home. It was seasonal labor, not slavery. They worked alongside full-time artisans, stonemasons, surveyors, architects, and craftsmen, many of whom lived permanently near the pyramid site and were considered among Egypt's elite workers. Together, these groups formed a national workforce that was mobile, skilled, and deeply motivated by religion, patriotism, and pride. Forensic clues. Evidence from the bones. Physical remains of the workers have provided even more insights. Forensic studies on skeletons from the Giza workers' cemetery show that many had healed broken bones, indicating access to medical care. Some had early forms of surgery, including trepanning, drilling into the skull. Signs of arthritis and muscular stress suggest intense manual labor, but also that injured workers were not discarded, but treated. These weren't disposable slaves. They were citizens, people whose health and contribution mattered. Manpower on a monumental scale. It's estimated that the Great Pyramid required around 23 years to complete. During peak construction, between 10,000 to 30,000 workers were on site, with even more involved indirectly, providing food, materials, transportation, and administrative support. Let's put that in perspective. To meet the timeline, workers would have needed to place a stone every 2 minutes, every day, for 2 decades. Each stone, some weighing 2 to 15 tons, had to be quarried, transported, shaped, and placed. All this was done without wheels, without cranes, without iron. It was a feat of nationwide coordination, comparable in complexity to the logistics of a modern-day mega-infrastructure project, but without the benefits of modern machinery or digital communication. Everything ran on human muscle, papyrus records, and meticulous planning. A nation united. More than anything else, the pyramids show us what ancient Egypt was capable of as a civilization. They weren't just built by laborers, they were built by a nation. Engineers designed every angle to divine perfection. Artisans shaped every stone with care and tradition. Farmers, when not tending crops, contributed to the immortal legacy of their kings. The pyramids were not just monuments to the dead, they were symbols of what the living could accomplish together.